Hi there, Jamie Keat here today at Teachers Tech. Hope you're having a great day today. Today I want to show you how to use Google Calendar. Google Calendar is part of the Google Workspace, and if used correctly, this can be even a more powerful tool to connect all your Google apps together. So I'm going to go through it from a beginner's level, but then also show you some tips along the way. So let's get started on this tutorial today with Google Calendar. So just before we dive in here to the workings of Google Calendar, I just want to make sure that you have a Google account because you need a Google account in order to access Google Calendar. So if you haven't created one, make sure you can create one now. I'm just going to go up to the top right-hand corner to my Google apps, and you can see I'm logged in already here. I'm just going to go to my Google Calendar to access it, and it's going to open up. So that's one way you get to your Google Calendar. The other way is just by typing. If you're logged in, you can go to calendar.google.com, and then you're going to access it that way too. So just to let you know, I've timestamped everything down below about all the different things in this video. And if you're looking for something specific, you can click on that time and it will jump to that part of the video, and hopefully that will save you some time. Now, in this tutorial today, I want to start with just kind of a general walkthrough where things are. I have my Google Calendar opened here just to be able to show you past events and future events and just how everything's set up in mine. Now, first thing I wanted to point out with this is showing today's date. Today is November 15th, and you can see right away on Google Calendar how there's a little bit of a call out around the date. And notice everything before this date here is kind of grayed out to a different color on it, showing that it's past. Anything in the future stands out a lot more of these. Now I can go back to any of these previous events that I have in my calendar and open them up just by clicking on them, and I can kind of see what kind of who I was meeting with. I can actually go to edit event, and I'll get into this more later on too. But if I click on this, I could go see through the description who maybe different people who it was with me, any handouts that I had, or rooms where I was, or guests. So I'm just going to close out of this, but again, I'll get back into that later on. Anything in the future, you can see how it just stands out brighter, and I can click on them and edit them if I need to. Now, I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner here, the main menu. Right now I have it closed, the main menu. If I click again, it opens up like this. So if you wanted a little bit more real estate, go ahead, click it, and it will close. It usually defaults open, so you'll see this right away. And what are you seeing when you open this up? Now, this is the create button, so I can create events. There's different ways to create events also with Google Calendar. But as I go down, and I'll talk about this a little bit later when I get to creating the events, here gives me a quick bird's eye view of the months, so I can go through and kind of see if there were certain dates I was looking for to plan something. I can kind of go ahead as far as I want, or go back to see maybe what certain dates were too. Now with this meet with, I like this feature because if I just click in it and I start, maybe I'll pick myself here, and then I'll pick this. And I'm going to pick this calendar. It can match calendars to see if you're planning a meeting with, maybe if someone has maybe a certain meeting, if a day will work. So if you notice that if it's busy on that day, well, maybe I won't try to meet with that day. But they have to be able to share your calendar with you for that to work. If it's not shared, that's not going to work very well for you. I'm just going to exit out of that. Down below, and the thing to recognize is usually when you're working with Google Calendar, you're going to be connected to lots of different calendars, especially if you're inside an organization. Now, this main one right here that has the check mark with that I have open, if I uncheck it, you notice everything disappears, because that's the calendar that I'm looking at, and it's the main one that I use in my work world. But there's all these other calendars down below, and plus it has my reminders and tasks. Now, reminders and tasks you can create from Gmail, and it will show over on your Google Calendar. I like that feature to it. If I, for instance, click on reminders, you can see that reminders just came up. It wasn't showing before. So these calendars are only going to come up if they're selected here. Now down below, you can actually add other calendars too. So maybe you have a favorite sports team or want to follow something. You can go through and see if it's inside of it, but I'll show you that towards the end of the video, or you can check down in the timestamps to jump to that part now if you wanted to. But as I go through any of these too, notice as I hover over, for instance here, I could unsubscribe from this calendar. So if I didn't want to have the events in here, I could just unsubscribe if I don't want this as part of my list. Or I have some options here too. I could actually hide from lists. So if I go ahead and hide it, it disappears from my list. So I didn't unsubscribe, it's still there, but I just didn't want to see it as a large part of my list. The other thing to note is if I click on this, again, I can change the color. Right now it's orange, but maybe I wanted a different color. So I could go ahead, I'll turn this to purple, and it quickly changes. So that's what this left-hand side of the main menu will get you. If I go up to the top, you can go through the different months here. I can look ahead. I can go ahead as far as I want, and the same thing by going back to previous months. If I go across the top, I have a search. If you have a busy calendar, this is if you know you're looking for something specific for. So if I go ahead and type Ashton, I know he has a surgery coming up, and it goes and it will find it for me very quickly. So maybe if it was months ahead, and then I can click on it and find out more about it, maybe the place, or I can go and edit the event if I know the time has changed on it. So I'm just going to close that. I'm going to hit the back right here. Just get to my main view. If you need any support, this is where you'd find it here. I'm going to go over the setting menus later on. I'm going to break this down where how you can share your calendar. But yes, look it down in the description if you were looking for something specific with that. But this is another important feature that people use a lot on their Google Calendar, and this is the view. So if I go ahead and drop down, right now I'm in the month view, but you can quickly change it to the day view. And I have nothing planned for today, but I can go through and kind of start to see if I have any meetings here to go through. As I go through, you'll see different times, and I can click and edit these if I need to. I can go back. I can have a week view. I like the week view, that glance. I can see kind of different things happening with different parts of it. Again, I can go through and edit these if I need to. I have my month view that I was in by default that I started, and you can change it to default, which one you want. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later in the settings too. But we have our year. If you want to quickly go to that year view, we have our schedule view through here that goes through all the different things. And you notice that I have the reminders turned on right now, and so it's showing up there. And then we have our 3 days, and we can create our own customization, what's going to work better for you. And I'll show you that later on. And then we can show declined events. I'm just going to go back to the month. This is how I tend to kind of get my glance to see what's everything happening, but then I can dive in deeper. So that's the walk around for Google Calendar, showing you my calendar and how I see it. But let's get into specifics about setting up, creating events, and getting everything customized that would work best for you. So now I want to show you how to add an event to your Google Calendar. I've opened up a brand new Google Calendar from a different account here. And just to let you know, it might look a little different than yours on some of the features if you're using the free Google account, your free Gmail Google account versus this one's part of an organization. So you'll see a few things look a little differently, but the tutorial will still work for you with understanding. I'll jump over to a free account to show you what it might look like too. But there's a few different ways you can create an event inside your Google Calendar. When I clicked on the main menu before, this button opened up here, and I can go ahead and hit create, and I can go through and add my title and adjust it, find the time and everything. So you can do it like that. I'm just going to close this because there's a different way that I tend to do it, a couple different ways. So the main way that I do it is look for a specific date. So let's say the 18th, and I can go ahead. If I click on it once, it just opens with that same the quick fill in to add my event. I can always go to more options to get to more, but I can go through here and notice that the date is now the 18th wherever I click. If I double click, it goes right away to the more details, and this is where I can add rooms, add guests, and different things if you're part of that organization of your Google account. But you can go through and hit X, and it doesn't add it because I haven't added the event. Now, a third way that you can do it is maybe on the 18th, you could click right on this little calendar. If I double click, it opens up that day, and then I can find a specific time, and then I can double click in here and it will go to there. You notice the time is already selected. So again, depending on how you want to add to your calendar, those are different ways. I'm just going to go back to my month view here, and we'll go to the 18th, and I'm going to do a double click so it gets right away to the details. And I'm going to say meet with Ashton. So this is going to be my title here. And we have it on the 18th, and that's the day I want it on. Is it an all-day event? Is this going to take up my whole day? If it is, I'm going to just leave this checked. But this isn't going to be an all-day event. It's just going to be for an hour, let's say. And this is where I can pick my time. So I could go through and let's say this is going to be, I could type in here too. So as I start typing, it will jump to different parts. If it's going to be 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., maybe I want it 45 minutes, like so. We can go to a time zone if you need to be. Now, is this a repeating event? So is it going to be something that happens daily, every other day, or is there a customize that we need? So is this weekly on Wednesday this meeting occurs? Is it monthly on the third Wednesday? So it's trying to find some patterns of where you picked it. But I could go through and customize this too. So do I want this to repeat on Wednesday? I could go through and pick the day, and I can just go through and customize everything. And so if you go through and do pick the repeat, and it will show up in your calendar in future events too. So in this case, I'm not picking a repeating one. I'm just making sure you understand that it's there. Now we have event details. So this is why I double click on it, that we can go through and add just everything that we want right from here. Now, first of all, add Google conferencing has been big with COVID and everything. So add a Google Meet link that if you're meeting. This makes it super simple. This is the way I like to add my Google Meet links, because if I go ahead and add it right away, it gives me the link, and I'm going to invite this to a person, and then they're going to get the link right in their calendar too. And I'll show you that in a little bit. Is there a location? So I could go through and pick a location. This isn't the room aspect, but we could go through and find a location. You can type in if we start typing. So if I type new, I got New York, I could put in right through here if that was the case, but I'll delete that. Notification. This is important to me. I like to have my notifications on. I usually get notifications on my mobile device. So that's the thing. If you're using Google Calendar on your phone, everything works very, very similar, and you get notified upcoming meetings. But you can also have your desktop notifications on, so it will let you know of anything coming up too. So this is where you could put a notification, or do you want an email sent? A lot of times I just put it notification, and I can change. Do I want to be notified how long before? Is it 10 minutes, hours, days, weeks? And you can go through to it. So you can go through, add another notification. Anytime you see the X, you can delete it and take it away. So I'm going to go through what calendar do I want it to add. So all these different calendars that I have here, I just want it to my main calendar, and you can see how the color, what color do I want it to show up? I'm going to turn it to yellow. And I'm going to leave default visibility busy. I can make it free if I want. I'm going to keep this busy during that time of the meeting. Now, this is where I can add attachments and everything too. So you would give your info here. We could add our attachment and click attachment. Is there anything in your Google Drive that you'd want to attach? So I could go to my drive and find something specific if I want. So if I just grab, here's an image. And now this is the important part that I really like about with Google Calendar, and I don't think a lot of people take advantage of this. It's adding people. So if I go through, I'm going to add Ashton to this. So he's going to get notified in his email, his Google Calendar, it will show up in, and then it'll go through and it just connects us all together. So I think this is an important part of it. Now, if I go through and do I want to have this guest permission? Is he allowed to invite other people? So I could check this off. Do I want him to be allowed to modify the event? Probably not, but I could check it if I want. See the guest list so he can check out who's being invited. The other part is the room. So, you know, if it's all set up, or if there's certain things that are needed for this one, maybe some Chromebooks are needed. This is going to happen in the THS room. So all this information starts to be put on. Now, if I go ahead and hit save, would you like to send the invitation emails? Yes, send. So it has to share the documents. That's part that I shared from my Google Drive. It's going to share that with the one person. Since this document over here, this Jamboard is a picture, I need to make sure that that gets shared. It's going to say who it gets shared with. It gives them view, or do I want them to be able to edit it? Because maybe there's an agenda or something attached to this, and you could give them edit so they could add to it if they wanted. But I'm going to go ahead and hit invite at this point. And then you can see it's on my calendar here. Let's go ahead over to Ashton's calendar and see what he sees now. So I've just switched over to Ashton's calendar now to show you what it looks like. And on his calendar right here, you can see Meet with Ashton. That's what I called it, so it went to his calendar. I can click on it, open up, it gives some information to Ashton. It's Meet with Ashton, gives the time. Here's the Google Meet link. So when we're ready, that's going to be all that he needs to be clicking on. It shows that the two guests are waiting on here. There's the file that I connected through here. And now, is Ashton going? So at this point, this is where I really like Google Calendar too. When you're organized everything, you want to find out if a person's going. I hit yes, and then I'm going to jump back over to my calendar so you can see that I'll be able to see that he's accepted the invitation to it. All right, so now I'm back in my calendar and I open up that event and I can see Ashton is going, that check mark. So if you're sending out this to a bunch of people, if they say yes to this, you'll see the check mark there. So you'll get a quick idea who is coming there. So it's a great way. They're going to get an email about this too in their Gmail to be able to know when it's coming. And then you'll be able to have everything organized, the documents and everything through your Google Calendar. So this is a great way to keep everything organized. If you want to change the date, you can still alter this. Now I can go back and double click on this again and edit this here. Another thing I can go is drag. So I can go ahead and drag this to a different date, and it's saying, would you like to send the update to an existing? Yes, and send, and I could and they'll be updated about this. If no one's attached to this, it allows me to quickly drag it without having that. But go ahead, make your adjustments to this, and it's very quickly to keep everything organized inside your organization. So before I get to adding new calendars and customizing all the different ways you can with them, I just want to show you a couple tips with your events. First of all, you can, I showed you how to add one by just clicking on the date. You can click and hold and grab multiple dates, and then you can see how you can quickly have those dates selected and it goes into your description. The other thing I wanted to point out, you can right click. So I can right click on this. I can, this is where I can answer if I'm going or change my, if I am going or not. I can join the meeting, or I could delete it right from here too. I just wanted to point out too, on the right hand side, you'll notice a few other things. We have Google Keep. If you're taking notes in Google Keep, these notes will come up here. So I'm just going to close this because it's more about the task that I want to show you. So now if you don't see this, look at the very bottom where it says hide side panel. Maybe it's like this and you didn't notice it was here. If you click show hide panel, or show the side panel, and then now if I go through here and click on task, let's go ahead and make some tasks here. So these are some old tasks. I'm just going to go ahead, and if I didn't want them anymore, I could click on them. You notice how they disappear. But and then they're at the bottom as completed. Let's add a task for this week. So I could go ahead, click on add task, and I'll just call it, I'm just going to call this test, keep this pretty boring. And then I can go ahead and edit the details. This is where I can say where I want, this is on my list, add date and time. And I'm just going to say it's on the end of this week. And do I want to set a time on this? I'll put this at 1 p.m. Do I want this to repeat? No, I'll just hit OK. So now it doesn't show up here. That's because my task calendar is over here. I turn it on, and then it shows up over here. So you can see now if I go back, I have this on my list here at 1 p.m. here. So if I go through, it showed me the other ones that I've deleted here too. On it. Here's the new one. It just populated as I was going through it. So there it is right there, 1 p.m. But it shows me the ones I've already done that I was playing with before. So that's with your task, are these kind of these simple, little short little things that you're just kind of to yourself to do. And the nice thing about this bar will show up in Gmail. You can open them up there and add them in Gmail, and it's going to be able to go to your calendar right from there with the task. So next I want to show you how to subscribe to other calendars or to create a brand new calendar. And over on the left hand side where we've opened our main menu here, if you haven't opened it, just click again. And down below here you can see where there's other calendars. If I hit the plus right here, and you can see subscribe to calendar. So maybe I want to subscribe to someone else's calendar. If I hit subscribe, I want to go to Ashton's here. I can go through and you can see I have different permissions I can go through, make available to the public and so on. I can go through, I can add people to this one if you have the permissions to do so, event notifications. I'll let you kind of go through this list of it. You can integrate other calendars where you have the calendar ID, the custom URL path to it, and you can see where I can unsubscribe. If I go back, I'm going to hit the back arrow. Now I have Ashton's calendar in here, and you can see over here I have two things on this date. That's because I'm seeing his calendar too. So if I click off of it, I don't see it anymore. If I click on it, I'm not deleting anything, I'm just making it visible or not. If I ever want to unsubscribe from a calendar, I can hit just the X and unsubscribe, and now it's not part of my calendars anymore. I can add other calendars too. So if I go ahead and create a new calendar, so maybe I have my work calendar and I go ahead and create new, and this is home. It will just be a calendar for the home, and I can go ahead and hit create calendar. You can see where I can pick my time zone. I can hit create. And I can go through at this, but you can see it's successfully created now. If I go back to it, you should see home right here. And I can go through and make adjustments to this one too. I can make, if I want to go to the display this only, hide from the list, settings and sharing, or I can change the color. Now, settings and sharing, I can click on it right here, or I can go up to the gear and go to the same one. If I have it selected, I'll go here and I'll hit settings and sharing. And this is where you get very specific with how you want to share your calendar out. And as you go through, you can see I'm under home and calendar settings. As I go through, I could give it a description. I could export the calendar. Now, if you export it and sharing, there's different times that you can import calendars too. So you can see there's import and export. I'm not going to go through that on this video. I just wanted to show you where it was. Auto accept invitations. Do you want to make this to the public, make available to anybody in the teacher's tech? Access permissions. As you go through down, you can add people to this. So is there somebody I want to have work with this one? I could send them an invitation and they can see all the event details, or I can make changes. You can tell them how much permissions they have to make changes to that calendar. event notifications. Again, you can go through and read all the different things that you can adjust through here. If you wanted to embed this onto a website, you can take this iframe and then embed it to here. This is your public access URL if you've made it public to it. Again, all these things, you can delete it or unsubscribe from it right here. If I go back, you can see there's the home. So that's when you're creating new ones or subscribing to other ones. But let's say if I wanted to hit the plus and look at calendars of interest. So maybe there's a football. So if I go football, I'll go NFL, and I want to follow the Arizona Cardinals. So I can click on that one. That calendar has been added. I go back. Here's the Arizona Cardinals. I can see that they're playing the Seahawks this Thursday night at 6:20. So I go through, I can see all their calendar events. So anything of interest, you can go through and take a look at it. Again, go through and check out the settings, making sure everything's adjusted the way you want. You can go ahead, you can click on this one, go to your settings up top here, and then you can go to your calendar specifically to go through the individual ones with the description. And the big thing is going to be who you're sharing this calendar with, and it's going to be what permissions that you give them to be able to do to your calendar on it. So the last thing I just wanted to point out in the settings is that you'll see that there's also get add-on. So if you wanted to add something onto your Google Calendar, maybe something like Zoom, just to see what works with it, you can go ahead and test these out. I would make sure that you read the reviews and check the ratings before you add these on to see what other people have thought of these. Now, I hope you like this walkthrough of Google Calendar today. There's more things to learn about Google Calendar, but I thought this would kind of give a overview to make sure that you're getting the most out of it as possible. Thanks for watching this week on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.